About a year and a half ago, I decided I was done with the corporate design and architecture world, and I finally got serious about officially starting my own interior design business. However, it was only in March of 2024 that I was ready to take the full leap of faith, bet on myself, and work on this business full time. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 10 important lessons I learned in my first 6 months of running my business full time. This is for all my designers out there who dream of one day working for themselves, or maybe freelancing already in addition to their 9-to-5, or you've just started the process of opening up your own design business. I hope you can take away some valuable tips and also learn from some of my mistakes, because let me tell you, I made lots and lots of mistakes. Expensive mistakes. What's up, designers? My name is Kelsey. I'm an 𝐂𝐈𝐿 certified interior designer and the owner of 𝐂𝐈𝐿, a Manhattan-based design studio specializing in commercial spaces. My mission is to help other designers excel in their career while promoting transparency about the industry. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more fun and educational interior design videos. So without further ado, please step into my studio. Or I guess for this video, I should say, step into my anxiety, because it's a feeling I experience often as a business owner. About a year and a half ago, I was stuck in a job working as a designer for a very small architectural firm in New York City. I lived in Hell's Kitchen at the time, which is like right north of Port Authority and a little bit west of Times Square. And the job was at the center of Times Square. So every single day, I walked from my apartment to my job through Times Square, through I'm not even gonna get into it. If you live in New York or if you've ever been to Times Square, you know exactly what I'm walking through every single day. Oh my God, I hated my life. I was miserable. Okay, I digress. Albeit it was a high-paying job. It was probably the most toxic job I have ever had. I woke up physically ill almost every single morning due to the anxiety of having to go to this job, and I just felt so stuck, both there and in life at the time. The plan was always to eventually start my own design firm, but it was still just a pipe dream and something that felt so far in the future. But it was in this job that really pushed me to think to myself, holy shit, I cannot work in corporate architecture anymore. I cannot work for bosses who don't have a clue of what they're doing, and I cannot continue to just sit bored or stressed at a desk and cash in a paycheck for the next 40 years. I will not do that. My blood pressure is rising talking about this again. So bitch, I got to work. Let me just fix my hair. Hair flip is for dramatic effect, but not great for the camera. And the first thing I did was hire someone to create a logo and a branding package for my cute new business. I then used that to make my website, my Instagram, my templates, my YouTube banner. I had this whole plan where I would make these like short ad videos and put them all over my website and my emails. When I realized that your branding literally means nothing, because when it was all done, I realized I spent months working on all that stuff, yet I had no idea how to get my first client. I thought that having a logo and some videos of me talking about myself would distract from the fact that I was starting from scratch and I had virtually no work of my own to show. But the reality was I spent so much time on all those aspects that would make me look like I had a real business, but I spent no time seeking out clients or networking or doing any of the actual business stuff. And when I did land those first few clients, I don't think they even glanced at my website or social media. I landed them through my network or word of mouth, because I had no work to show. Like, what the heck were they gonna look at on my website anyways? Like, I literally had no projects. So in conclusion to this point, I think it's important to have a website and social media and to have presence online and to have somewhere for potential clients to go when they look you up and kind of validate you as someone with a real business. But if I had to do it again, I would spend barely any time doing all that stuff and more time actually networking to get my first few clients. And also because I'm now just like 6, maybe now 7 or 8 months in and I'm filming this, I just completely rebranded anyways. So there you go, it's kind of all for nothing anyways. Which brings me to my next lesson I learned, which is that your network is your most important resource. I've received 99% of my business just from my network. Friends, colleagues, referrals. I might have had one client that I found because I was out drinking at his bar, and then I was kind of drunk and I gave him some unsolicited design advice. I handed him my business card and I was like, hey, if you ever need a designer, give me a call. He did give me a call. And I ended up designing his new cafe. So that was one that I actually just got out in the wild. And it doesn't matter what your current network is, even if you're starting from scratch and you don't have any past clients, you don't know anyone that's looking for work, look to who your current network is. Is it colleagues? Is it current or former bosses? Actually, maybe not your current bosses, maybe your former bosses. Manufacturers, reps, and vendors, your family and friends, just like people that you meet out. Just start talking about your business, talk about what you do, and that's how you get the word out there. That's how you let people know that you're starting a business, you're looking for new clients. You never know, they could tell their friends, they could tell their colleagues, they could know someone who's looking to hire a designer. And it seems really, really daunting to just start talking about yourself and your business when you have nothing to show and you're literally starting from ground zero, but it is really like the best way that you're gonna find your first client. Always be promoting yourself. Even if you don't have a website yet, you have no work to show, you have no Instagram, who cares? I was so like wrapped up in the branding part of it. I didn't wanna tell anyone what I was working on. I didn't wanna tell anyone that I was starting a business because I didn't want them to go look at something and not have a perfect brand to show and not have all the bells and whistles. I was afraid of a messy start. I was so focused on coming out and it being perfect, and that's just like not the way that business works a lot. I didn't want anyone to see my process, but I also think that your friends and your followers or your audience or whoever's following along, your clients, they like to see the process. That is the fun and interesting part, is like pulling behind the curtain, which is kind of what I'm doing with this YouTube channel also, and my Instagram, like not just showing the finished product, not just showing the perfect render, showing how I got there and what it took to get there. I feel like that also proves the validity of how hard you've worked to create that, or to have that accomplishment, or to finish that project or that rendering. But yeah, I'm a perfectionist, so I don't do any of that. And how exactly did you get your first few clients, Kelsey? Girl, I said yes to everything. Do you do tenant test fits? Yes. Do you do site surveys and as-built plans? Yes. Can you help me pick out this paint color? Yes. Can you sew these curtains for me? Actually, yes, I can, and I have.
It's a hard knock life for us. It's a hard knock life for us.
In the beginning, it's all about building your experience and your portfolio and your network, because like I said before, you may literally have nothing to show at first, because I sure as hell didn't. It is just like a known fact that when you're starting a business, or even if you're an intern at a company, you're gonna have to eat shit. You're gonna have to do more work for less pay, or work for no pay, pro bono, anything that you can do in the beginning to just build up relationships, build a client base, get a few things in your portfolio so you have something to show. So if a client approaches you and they ask you for a portfolio or a tear sheet of some recent work, you have something to show, and you also have like positive client feedback. So yeah, this might be a phase where you are not really making any money, but like when I did that, I really got the ball rolling. I had a couple of really, really tiny projects, and over time those turned into bigger projects, and those turned into more client referrals, and that just snowballs. And you also never know who is going to refer you. I've gotten calls from clients that I did a really tiny test fit for, and they referred me to another friend or colleague that needed a much bigger project. So you just really never know. And eventually you get to a point where you don't have to say yes to everything, where you have enough work going around, you have a large enough portfolio, financially you're in a better position, and you can start handpicking things or raising your prices. I'm kind of at the precipice of doing all of those things right now, so I will update you probably in another 6 months to see if I'm there. Focus on quality and over deliver. Like I said in the beginning, you're gonna do a lot more work for a lot less money than you probably deserve, because you're building your brand and you're building your reputation, you're building your portfolio. If a client didn't pay for renderings, if they're a great client and they're easy to work with and they could potentially be someone to refer me to other clients, or maybe they have more work themselves, then maybe I'll throw in a rendering. I'll just add a little something extra. I'll give them an extra elevation. I'll like make sure my CD set is like really tight. Not over delivering where I'm like designing the whole project for triple the amount of hours. Providing them a really, really good service. Maybe it could be in the actual service that you're providing, not so much the deliverables. They are gonna be more likely to hire you again, to speak well on you and your business, and to refer you to their friends because they liked the work. The most important thing in the beginning stages of business when you're trying to build your client base is positive word of mouth recommendations. And then down the road, when you have a healthy client base and your projects get bigger, you can start increasing your prices and sticking to exactly what you've agreed to in your proposals. I will give you a personal example that just happened recently, actually. So I got a small office project through a friend, and the client was really amazing. I was working directly with the tenant. They were the ones that hired me for my services. But because of the agreement that the tenant and the landlord had, the landlord was very active in the project process. And so I worked directly with the landlord a lot. We just built a great professional relationship. He enjoyed working with me. I over-delivered, and I showed him that I was a great designer to work with, that I was communicative, that I had a great drawing set, and both the tenant and the contractor had really good things to say about me. He actually, during that project, decided to bring me on to another project, which was another floor in that same building. So that just goes to show that someone that didn't even hire me at first, we were just working together in the same project, saw my quality, saw the services that I provided, and liked it enough and trusted me enough to bring me onto another project that ended up being a higher fee and a larger project. You will learn faster by doing. This is something I have to tell myself because I am a planner and I just sit there and I can plan all day long and make lists and make Excel spreadsheets, and then I just don't do anything. Kind of like this YouTube channel. Kelsey, what are you doing? Something that held me back from starting my business was the incredible imposter syndrome that I didn't know what I was actually doing. I had worked in so many different firms, I did a lot of different jobs, and I designed on a lot of different projects, but I was still so young and I didn't have experience in many of the important phases of design. Because when you're a young designer working at a big firm, you're not seeing every single part of the process. You're not going out and getting business. You're not the one crafting the proposals. Maybe you're doing concept, maybe you're doing design and selecting finishes. Maybe you touch a little bit of CD sets, but you have teams to help you with that stuff. You're definitely not handling any of the purchasing. You're not handling any of the finances of the business. There's so many things that go into a project that you just don't learn unless you figure it out yourself or you start doing it. And I went to art school, not business school. So I literally knew nothing about the business side of things. Every single day, every single week, a new issue would arise, or I would be like, oh crap, how do I keep track of invoices? Oh crap, how do I keep track of my projects? And so it was just constantly this learning experience of both figuring out the business side, but also like design, like me having to build my own materials library, me having to work on site with contractors by myself, me having to do a design CD set all by myself. Those are things that I had to figure out and do it. So not only did I need to learn those new skills and processes, I also needed to act as if I had done it a million times to my clients. I had to go in super confident, like, yeah, I've done all this before, watch. LOL. Honestly, I learned more about not only the business side of interior design, but about the entire interior design process from start to finish more in the first few months of me working for myself than I ever have in years working for someone else or at a large firm. It is crazy. The first time I did all the purchasing for a project, I was scared as shit and I had no idea what I was doing. But the second time was easier. And the third time, I could have done it with my eyes closed. It just takes time to get more comfortable, and every time you do something, you find new ways to be more efficient or more profitable or just make your life easier. My next lesson that I learned is probably the most important lesson, which is entrepreneurship is volatile as fuck. This is something that I struggle with every single day. the ups and the downs of business, the ups and the downs of finances, and the ups and the downs of your own emotions is just like constant. One day you're signing a huge project, you're on top of the world, it's the biggest project, the biggest fee you've ever done, you're drowning in cash, and then the next day you screw up on a project, or you get a negative client call, or you realize you didn't make enough money this month to pay your rent. It is a constant roller coaster, and something that people talked about. I heard entrepreneurs talk about how like it's not for the faint of heart, but like I didn't truly believe that until I was here. Just like something else I'm very familiar with, a toxic relationship with a narcissist. The highs are high and the lows are low. Eventually, I'd like to make a video on how you can cope with the volatility of entrepreneurship in the interior design business, or how you can cope emotionally, but that day is not today, because I still have no fucking clue, and I cried a couple days ago. It sounds like really dumb and cliche, but I keep coming back to that line of like, if it were easy, everyone would do it. And that is really true, because I think back to like, what was the reason that I wanted to work for myself? It's because I didn't want my career to look like some cookie cutter. I had to go into a corporate office 9 to 5, earn this stable income forever, which like stable income sometimes sounds really nice. What I wanted was to take a risk, to challenge myself and like really see what I'm capable of. I wanted to be able to design what I wanted without having to ask a million people's opinion or permission. I wanted the ability to have free agency over my life. That's just part of it. You take on a lot of that volatility, you take on the risk for potentially an even bigger reward. For me, the financial and emotional volatility is worth all the benefits that I receive from owning my own business, which are those things I talked about: freedom of time, agency over my career, and the potential ability to make an infinite amount of money, which I'm still waiting for that to happen. Anytime anyone wants to give me an infinite amount of money, I would love that. So with that said, my next lesson that I learned is a cash cushion is essential. One way to combat the volatility of entrepreneurship, both the financial and the emotional, the stressful portions of it, is having a cash cushion, which basically means that you have a good amount of cash in a savings account, preferably a high yield savings account, all my finance people, where you are housing like 3 months of all of your living and business expenses. Honestly, if you wanted to bump that up to like 4 to 6 months, that's even better, because it just gives you more wiggle room so that you don't have to quit as easily. You can have a couple of bad months in a row and not be discouraged. I did have a decent cash savings account before I quit my last job, and I took the leap 100% into entrepreneurship, but God, did that account drain faster than anything I've ever seen. I took a couple of financial hits right before I decided to go off on my own, which was I moved into this apartment. I had kind of like an emergency situation where I needed housing really fast, a narcissist relationship. And so I had to deplete basically a lot of my savings for this apartment, for the down payment, for the security deposit, a lot of the furniture that was in here. And so that was a big hit that I took, but I was like, I'm good. I still have plenty of money. I also underestimated like how much money I actually needed to support myself for multiple months. Now that I was working solely for myself, I needed to pay for my own AutoCAD and Photoshop, everything that comes with running a business. And don't even get me started on healthcare. I don't want to talk about it. Oh my God. The fact that healthcare is tied to your employment. Cue the America theme song. Maybe before I even got a stipend for my travel. Think I get a stipend for my travel now? Nope. The bitch in charge makes me pay for that shit myself. I also made a couple of really expensive mistakes kind of in like the first couple of months of my business, which it's now time for me to regale you with credit card processing gate. Sit tight, kids, it's a doozy. And I'm going to make it very brief as to not raise my blood pressure anymore, because I'm already getting a little clammy thinking about this entire situation. So I was working on a project where I was able to finally do the purchasing for all of the furniture and some of the architectural materials. It was my first project that really opened my eyes to how much money I can make from the purchasing process of a project. And if you don't know what I'm talking about in terms of like earning from purchasing, go check out my ways that designers make money video. I'll leave a card for that here, and I'll also leave a link to that down in the description box. This was the project where I was like, oh my God, I'm literally making a boatload of money with one transaction in 1 second. I just completed my first like real purchase order, and just on the markup, I made my rent. And that just like feels really good.
been having all of these intrusive thoughts that like I jumped too quickly and like I'm not actually gonna make that much money and it's gonna be a hustle. I literally just made $3,600 in 24 hours. Feels really fucking good. I don't know why I'm crying right now.
Granted, it took me some time and work to source those items and to design the project, but it like opened my eyes to like how infinite money is and like how much money you could make from this job. I was really excited and I send my client the invoice. It's like a big chunk of change. And my client asks if he can pay with a credit card. And I said, of course you can pay with a credit card. What do I look like? Some business owner that doesn't know what they're doing. I was some business owner that didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea how to take a credit card. So I started working with this credit card processing company that apparently was reputable and had good reviews, and I had heard good things from friends and colleagues. I sign up for the account, I get a little training. I have this guy that's like, hey, I'm your rep and I'm going to work with you. And if you have any issues, you can give me a call. Here's my personal cell phone number. We love a salesman. Basically how the process works is you have a processing fee, that 3% credit card processing fee that goes to the credit card processing company, who is the one who is physically doing the transaction. The client swipes their card, the company pulls the money out of their bank and then puts it into your bank. They're kind of like the middleman in that transaction from your client's bank to your bank. And because it was my first transaction and it was a large transaction, it was good for Kelsey trying to make money. It was bad for the credit card processing company because they flagged it as fraud. And so the transaction halted. My client's money sat in limbo for 1 month. I spent 1 month trying to call my rep, trying to call the company, trying to call anybody that would take my phone calls to get any information on why the money hadn't been put into my account yet, what was happening, what the issue was. They basically like shut me out and were giving me absolutely no information, to the point where I was hyperventilating and crying on my couch because I literally thought I was working with a scam company that just took like 50 grand of my client's money. All these thoughts are going through my head. That was a moment where I was like, wow, I'm only 2 months in and I could quit right now. I literally could quit. And if this is a scam and they don't give me or my client the $50,000 back, I am bankrupt. So that was incredibly scary. Finally, after 4 weeks, they resurfaced from the depths of hell and told me what the issue was, which was they flagged it as fraud. And so the bank rejected pulling the funds out. They sent all that money back to the client. They were like, just have your client pay with a wire. And I was like, fine, I'll do that. So told my client, I'm like, hey, it's not working. Just pay me with a wire. He said, great, paid me that day. The project was a little delayed because I had to wait for that payment to come through before I purchased anything. I wasn't going to go ahead and purchase 50 grand worth of product without the actual money. They didn't ever put the funds into my account, but they did already extract that credit card processing fee, or whatever the percentage of the processing fee was, which ended up being like a little under like $2,000. So I called them back up. I was like, hey guys, since you fucked up and this never went through, and this was a horrible transaction, a horrible customer experience, you need to give me my credit card processing fee back, because my client initially was paying for that. He was the one incurring the cost on his credit card. Now he's not, and I'm not paying for this. And they said, yeah, we're not gonna do that. And they hung up on me, and they then sent me a letter in the mail saying that they would no longer like to resume business with me, and they just took my money and they ran, and I will never accept credit card ever again. So that was one thing. Okay, on to my next lesson. Another very expensive money mistake I made has to do with this next lesson I learned, which is invest in the right software the first time around. As I watched my cash cushion drain faster than global warming is draining every river on our planet, I was so desperate to save as much money as I could, and I was cutting corners with things that I really shouldn't have been cutting corners with, like business tools and softwares. My system of doing business, because I didn't want to pay for things like QuickBook, I was just kind of keeping track of things in like an Excel spreadsheet or in a notes app or in my little notebook at my desk. And because of that, I was forgetting about a lot of invoices. I was forgetting about tasks. I was forgetting about clients not paying me. And it was hard to keep track of everything. And that ended up in like me losing money, or me just like leaving money on the table, me forgetting about tasks and making my clients upset with me. And also for another very expensive mistake story that I'm gonna tell you right now, which I call external hard drive gate. which is a much shorter story, I promise. I basically kept all my files on an external hard drive. It held not only everything I had ever done for my business, it held basically everything that I've done in the last 3 years, videos, photos, work from previous firms. Typically, your external hard drive is your safe space. You don't save things on your computer, you save it on an external hard drive. Oh, I will never trust a hard drive ever again, because one day suddenly it decided to crash on me, and that was not fun. As soon as it happened, I immediately knew. I took it, I ran my ass to B&H, and they send it out. I finally hear back from people 3 days later on how much money it's gonna cost them to recover my files, and they quoted me originally $3,500 to recover my files. I have a certain beef with tech companies like this, or recovery companies like this, because they are clearly preying on the sad souls of young, dumb girls trying to start interior design businesses. They sent me an email. They're like, "Hey Kelsey, how's it going? We can successfully recover all of your files. Just give us a call and we'll tell you how much it's gonna be." And I was like, "Hey, you can just email me how much it's gonna cost. That's fine." And the guy was like, "No. I need to call you. We need to sit down and have a conversation. You might need a glass of wine for this." I start breaking into tears. You can probably tell how much I cried just based on this one video alone. I'm breaking into tears. I'm on the couch. I literally was like, absolutely fucking not. Send me my hard drive back. Here's my address. And I hung up on him. I like to play hardball with people. That's how I've gotten half price Adobe Creative Cloud every March since 2017. I haggled with him and I haggled with him, and every time they would lower the price, they'd be like, "Hey, we'll give it to you for $1,500. I was like, "Nope, you're gonna do it for under $1,000. Finally, they agreed to recover all of my files for $950 plus a video review that I would leave on their Yelp page. And I was like, "Guys, if you do this for under $1,000, I will make you the best damn video review you've ever seen in your entire life."
For that reason, I'm extremely grateful and so happy that I came to them, and I would recommend them to all of my friends.
Anyway, so that was an expensive lesson that I learned, and now I use Google Drive and everything's on the cloud, and I just pay per month for it, and I clickety-clack away, and if my computer dies or something dies, all my things are in the cloud, and it's really easy, and it's made my workflows much easier as well. I also didn't have a proper business credit card and checking account because I was looking for all these no-fee accounts. A lot of them were online, a lot of them didn't have a bank branch, and the issue with having some of those free and online accounts is that you don't have a physical branch to cash checks in, to talk to someone in person if you're having an issue or if you have a question. I feel like I went through 3 different business checking accounts that were online or free because I didn't want to pay the monthly fee of $15 for a big bank, a typical bank. Finally, I was like, screw it, I'm gonna do it. And I opened up a bank account at a really large bank. I won't tell you where I bank, but it's one of the big ones. Turns out if you keep a minimum amount of money in the account, which really is not that much money, it's no fee. I also opened a business credit card with that same bank so that everything talked to each other and everything was in one place. And then I invested in QuickBooks, which helped me keep track of my invoices and really show me what my cash flow was like. And so I was depleting cash less often. I have more mental space and clarity knowing that my files were safe, my money is exactly where it should be, and there's nothing else that I'm forgetting about. My next lesson is that freedom is priceless. One of the things that appealed to me the most about entrepreneurship is the ability to make as much money as you want. There's no one telling you what your salary is or how much you should charge, so there's no cap on your income. The possibilities are essentially endless. What I really learned from these past few months is that, yes, it's fun to make money and sometimes you're making more money in less time, but the best part about working for yourself is the less time part. I no longer have to work a full 40-hour week to make the money that I need to make. I'm actually working significantly less. I can also work whenever and wherever I want. I can go to lunch with my friends whenever I want. I can take a day off if I need. Of course, I have clients to tend to and work to do, but generally I control my own schedule. There are so many days where I get all my work done early in the day and I don't have any more meetings and it's 2:30 and I decide that I want to get myself a silly little treat, listen to a podcast and go on a walk along the West Side Highway on a gorgeous day, or go to a workout class, or call my parents, or start binge watching Summer House. And then 5 seasons in, you learn about Winter House because how else are you gonna know about what drama happens between summers? You'd miss entire plot lines. And then 2 seasons into Winter House, you realize you have to watch Southern Charm to get Craig and Austin's backstory, so then you start watching that from the beginning. And it's been a whirlwind. The freedom of working for yourself truly is priceless, and it really is the thing that I feel most grateful for. If you work for yourself or you have dreams of working for yourself, the goal probably isn't to make a boatload of money, which maybe it is, but the reason you want to make a boatload of money is so that you have more freedom and control over your time. Proud of myself for that little philosophical tidbit. And my last lesson is that there is always a solution. I'm gonna give you another little cliche quote, and that is, the only way that I will succeed is if I don't quit. And that is something that has popped into my head so many times during credit card processing gate, external hard drive gate, all the gates combined. I had the thought, if I quit, I will never succeed, I guess. Like, that kind of sounds like counterintuitive, but like, I just need to keep going. There is always a solution. I've always been able to pay my rent, pay my bills, finish the project, accomplish the thing. There's always a solution and things always work out. I've been in situations where I thought it would be the end of my business, or that I hurt a relationship with a big client, or I embarrassed myself, or I ran out of money. But at the end of the day, every month, every quarter, everything always turns out just fine, and none of it really was the end of the world. On the days where my credit card bill was due and I was $500 short that month, I have spontaneously gotten a check from a client in the mail or received like a quick same-day turnaround project to earn that money. Like, it is so freaky. Like, it's literally been down to the dollar where this has happened before. To me, that's just like the universe telling me to keep going. It does get easier, and the hard lessons become further in between, and the mistakes that you make become less detrimental to your business. So I just want to end this video with saying, if you're in a similar spot in your entrepreneurial journey, I'm here to tell you not to quit. And I want to tell you something that my new boyfriend just told me the other day that really stuck with me, and that was, don't quit before you failed. I have a lot of these thoughts where I'm like, well, I'm afraid to fail if I do this thing, or I get a part-time job, or I stop doing it, or I go back to whatever. And what he told me was, you are thinking of ways to recover from failure when you haven't failed yet. And if at the end of the day, entrepreneurship is not for you, that's okay too. And on that very philosophical note, I will bid you adieu. If you're looking for more educational interior design content, or to hear me talk about all my woes, then be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the link down below to be added to my email list if that's something that you're interested in. If you're not, do it anyways. I will see you in my next video. Until then, see you later.